with time and dedication to families one by one, and keep having this intention for discovery, I think with time, I'll find that that's my legend all the way, constantly.
Greetings and welcome to the Compromise to Alchemize podcast with me, your host, Dr. Neil Bolchandani. Today's episode is with Dr. Erick. He's been on at least a couple times, and it's really been enriching for me to get to talk with my guests more than once. And I think the theme that I really feel strongly about is that I'm interested in working on my depth, meaning depth of friendship, depth of connection. As is life, I can really get excited about a lot of the projects that I'm doing, a lot of the collaborations, and also just the beautiful opportunity to be, well, like where I am right now. I'm in the Hamptons, and what an extraordinary time where travel becomes easier. Compromise to Alchemized is about journeying with people from struggle to healing, and boy, want to share on that. But for right now, I reflect on the conversation that I had with Dr. Erick, and I appreciate his agility in a conversation, but also just his desire to go deep. We cover some really, I think, really fun topics. Down the rabbit hole we go, as I tend to go with many. And Dr. Erick has, if you've listened to his episodes, you've here on my podcast or otherwise, you've witnessed what a multifaceted person he is. And I do mean to talk about like what he does with his position or role as an integrative pediatrician, but he wears many hats within healthcare. And then yet again, I kind of wanted him to feel like there's liberty to not just stay confined to the discussion on healthcare. So into the podcast episode, I let him know that. But just so you know, he was just up for the conversation. And as many are gracious to just join in for the journey, I really appreciated that. So, we talk about my brother Arun, how in his journey he realized he wanted to pursue a tongue tie release, and the procedure was something he did prepare for. But so he was on a trip to Mexico and went to Dr. Erick and had the release done by Dr. Erick. And then I got the fortune of, having my brother visit me while the Myosphere conference was going on in Raleigh, North Carolina, put on by those amazing people. And so I got to see him. Well, I did some body work on him, but I also supported him remotely through the floor 4 work. So that was fun. And actually, yeah, so much to say. He we're going to share more about that, but he definitely got to experience he had some great words to say about Dr. Erick, just his professionalism, but also his caring nature. So that was really cool and almost surreal. So from that to our discussions about so many different topics, but just also just the enjoyment of the conversation itself. I just want you to tune in for this reason, to witness the brilliance of Dr. Erick. And he is, yes, he's an integrative pediatrician who works with, identifying and noticing when someone has a nervous system dysregulation that could be coming from primitive reflexes, could be coming from tongue tie and oral restrictions. It could be coming from, just emotional, dis-ease. It could be coming from many things. So he's really been keen on pursuing more knowledge on that. But, he's already on a path to acquire more than most will. So Um, enjoy the episode. Can't wait to hear what you think. And definitely stay tuned because we're going to talk again. But for now, just excited to see what you think about the episode. Continue in the flow, Eric.
Yeah.
Keep going. You were saying we should record it, and as soon as you did, I rudely interrupted you, and I said, "Let me do it," because you're right.
Yeah, we were saying about human beings, and so many quotes. I was not prepping, but at the same time I was prepping, I was in the morning getting coffee ready, grinding myself. That's a ritual. I mean, I don't meditate, I don't cold plunge, but I just my ritual is grinding my coffee and doing this pour over. I mean, the Chemex method filtering. And I see sometimes, do you know what? Like I connect so many things when I see you, like you, a dancer, then you talk about embryology and movement,
Yeah.
and then floor of the mouth and tension. And I was just reflecting on, the first drops, it's called pouring. When you do the coffee, the first pour, it's you let it, I forget the name, but it's this balance initially, and the first drops that go to the bottom of the container, and
Uh
the molecules of air and water and coffee, how they move. And I was also reading a book about mitochondria
huh.
and the communication of cells. And Dean Hall, one of your last guests, an amazing man. He was saying, we are not human brains, we are human beings, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and and we so many times are missing being in nature. Just before I met you, like today, I connected with you. I was like, I listened to that and was like, I'm gonna take 5 minutes, go outside of my house and get like a little bit of sunbathing, and like this resetting, reminding, reminiscing of what we are, right? And what are we missing? And particularly, you mentioned Santa Barbara, that it's a small town, but it's not at the same time so urbanized, right? Because it's California. It's you need to have an intention to move into the wilderness, right? And and in my case as well, I mean, I live in an urban area and I practice pediatrics in an urban area, and I see all day long, like being exposed at my office to LED light. And now that I'm like, thanks to you, I'm following Dr. Stillman in Austin,
Yeah.
Texas, an internal medicine specialist. And like, how many things we don't see that are like a few, like the drops on a pour over. I mean, since we are not feeling that urgency of decay, of disharmony, we keep just like automatically like au- automatons. We just keep going. I mean, we are in these kind of trap. And I mean, I connect this. I don't want to just like go nowhere, but I connect this because I see families. You talk about embryology, you talk about hypnosis, your guests talk about energy, and sometimes, so many times, I see kids, even within their families, disconnected, right? So talk about breastfeeding as a pediatrician, and we're trying to fix a latch, and this is the alchemy of being here with you, is like we want to put the word out that it's not about just the mechanics, right? It's not about just the pharmacology for gas in your baby's stomach. It's about how we remember that connection, that flow of energy, right? I mean, one of your guests, like Shamani Jain or Jain, I read a book, Biohealing, and it's like we are, even with AI, Neil, like we're trying to figure things out, and sometimes we believe or assume that we have things figured out, right? But I mean, we are still a mystery, right? Don't you
Yeah.
think?
Absolutely.
And that's why I like before we connected today and record, as a physician, I'm a pediatrician, you're a chiropractor. I mean, there has not been a time in my life that I have connected more with other, like, would we say branch or other kind of healers, not
Hmm.
just curers. It's not about curing, it's about healing. And I think as a pediatrician, being still very conventional, I think that's one of the conflicts I have within my day-to-day practice. And like the last thing I would like to say to keep having a conversation that's back and forth is I was listening to a specialist, very popular, like he's Mexican. I think he specializes in obesity and metabolic dysfunction. And he was like very, very conventional med school residency, maybe some postgraduate education. Like, what does the latest journal paper says? I don't know, the New England, the Lancet, publications, evidence, data, right? And maybe like it was preparing me for being with you. He
Hmm.
was mentioning these he was kind of challenging what wellness medicine could be getting wrong. And like he was trying to, like, I just like watched like a few seconds of his video, which like we are like maybe I may be missing the point, but as a practitioner in conventional medicine, uh uh we still believe as conventionalists that everything else wellness is hocus pocus, and then you see the book from Shamani, and she's doing her homework. She's doing the method, like the methodology. She's doing like the scientific method, and she's demonstrating that there's more to it, right? Than pharmacology, than medications, than metformin, than GLP-1 agonists. I mean, and for kids, it's beyond antibiotics. It's beyond medications for your alleged colic, which is what is colic, right? What
Hmm.
is and so I'm in at crossroads, would you say, Neil?
Yeah.
Like uh because
Juncture, crossroads.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, juncture. Yeah, I like that word. I mean, it's just like it's not enough. It's not enough
Uh-huh.
prescribing. I mean, okay, like this internal medicine, and he has like 4 million followers on Instagram, and he does conferences, and he's like all with obesity and wellness, and he was like kind of criticizing that we, like, people in the wellness world are just like putting people against medications and and pharmacology and treatment and the mechanisms of action. And I don't think that's, I don't know, what would you think about that? Like, I know you had on your podcast, which is amazing, uh pediatrician, uh Gator, Dr. Gator,
Gator Walsh. Yeah.
Joel Gator Walsh. And
Yeah.
nowadays, I mean, to put more the controversy in our conversation, and even Dr. Stillman mentioning about being more, uh, I don't know, skeptic
Yeah.
about even vaccines. Nowadays,
Oh yeah.
I mean, as a pediatrician, nowadays I've been having more conversations on at least waiting on vaccines and
Mhm.
and thinking twice and reflecting on health
Yeah.
and not just like focusing like it is as if you put just so many eggs on one basket, right? And to be honest, I mean, nowadays that I see families, I see like middle to high income families. They don't go to childcare. They just have one child. All things like they have like tailwinds 360. And I tell them, and you know what? If your baby's 2 months old and you're hesitating about vaccinating your child and you're breastfeeding and you have hygiene and you have like all these, like, I don't know, benefits from life, even like, I don't know, materially. I mean, feel I'm starting to feel very comfortable, Neil, with saying to them, you know what? Of course you can wait. I mean, in 19 years as a practitioner, I have not seen I do private practice since I graduated. I have not seen one case of polio, have not seen one case of complicated meningitis. I mean, I would say that I'm not completely against vaccines, but I'm in favor of reflecting individually about our own health and our path, our legend since we are born, our story. Where are we going? So I don't know. What do you think about these like opening 10 minutes of me
I mean, I
just
was
going
just
all over the
listening.
place?
I was just all of a sudden listening to a great podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just drinking my morning coffee, hearing some really insightful, connecting thoughts from this amazing Dr. Eric. So yeah, no, I'm tracking with you. Even yeah, just with vaccinations, and I'll say that I've got to remain myself, just diplomatic and objective in how I help people. I really love the way you talked about it, because I feel like your caring nature and your ability to know a lot about health, you can really support these families well, especially because of your role. And I do too, but in a different way, meaning, families ask me all the time opinions, and I say, I could give you my opinion, but I have to be very careful to say that my role is to help you with alignment and figuring out what's affecting your body and how to help you through that. But but I can say to people, and I have helped many when they've had adverse reactions to all kinds of things, including vaccinations. I've helped them afterwards. And here's how I can help if you have that concern, or here's how I've helped someone just in case. So I've helped many through, well, whether it be the COVID vaccine, and they had adverse effects in helping them out of, Bell's palsy very acutely,
Mhm.
and have it's been 1 or 2 sessions and then it's gone. And that I'm so thankful that the body has its way of healing, because I know it's such a predicament. Talking about compromise to alchemize. Compromise is like the school system, the government, the whole system says everybody needs to vaccinate, and what happens if you don't? Parents are faced with all these issues. But I'm going to leave it to Dr. Joel Gator Walsh to preach about that
Yeah.
right now. What I wanted to go back to is, I love how you started off with this uh, talk about coffee. One, because I've had Ildi Revi on the podcast, Chief Learning Officer of Purity Coffee, right here, Purity Coffee. And you didn't even know
Oh,
this, but they're interviewing me on their podcast right after this. So uh,
wow.
you had no idea that I was drinking my Purity Coffee, thinking about it. And then you come in talking about grinding your coffee. And Ildi was on the podcast with me some time ago talking about almost a similar way you talked about it. And I think there is so much to say about that. It's like we have our rituals and our rhythms and our customs, and I think that speaks to, we are humans on this planet. We are beings, and we have our day, like the sun rises and sets, and we just want to have a really good day. We want to, and I know your personal legend has a lot to do with helping humanity, as we talked about it, at least in the last couple times we chatted for the podcast. And I felt, as we were WhatsApping about excited to connect today for this time, um, I was thinking about, yeah, there's so many things that we've had, and I think at some point in our texting we realized, let's just get on and talk, because this
Yeah.
is the essence. And we both, I think, have this keen desire to make connections. I mean, with
Yeah.
people. I see it in
Hmm.
you. I'm like, how much do I see you thrive off of that interpersonal dynamic? And me too. I mean, I just can't wait to connect with people and to go deep. And I think also the connectedness of us all, the connectedness of the world, the connectedness of, you know, these issues that prevail in the world, where we're all facing as families. I see a lot of families, and compromise to alchemize. There's so much to to navigate, and I feel like I've seen you already before we ever met. This is why I reached out to you in the first place, to ask you to, if you would kindly. present via Zoom to my training that I was doing like, a year and a half ago
Yeah.
before I moved. And you said you were excited and you said, I feel the energy. And because you could feel it, is that, you know, compromise means that we're gonna, as a person who loves people and helping people, I want to investigate whatever I can so that I can equip myself to better serve them. But I also want to know as much as I can so I can skillfully with my hands help them, and then I also want to know more people so I can understand, ooh, you might need this technology or you might need to ground, get negative ions. And I see that has been your path as well. You're a healer, a multifaceted healer. You are a pediatrician. You're a
Mhm.
very excellent pediatrician. And then also, you, I think you are one of the few who I've seen exemplify what is a pediatrician. You are caring for children and I think families. And if you do that, it's a whole person. And if you care for a whole person, you're looking into so much in different kinds of the ways that we need to pursue modalities and treatment. So I love the juncture you're in because I feel like it's the crisis that I think any healer gets to when they realize they have the ability and the privilege to help so many people. And so I think crossroads, juncture, and also beautiful nexus and opportunity. And I think you're really using that because I see you on, Airway Answers podcast with Nicole Goldfarb, and I see you on, I saw you on other podcasts, and you're always, even I saw a recent reel with you collaborating with somebody about sleep, and I loved how you were talking about. It was in Spanish, but I could understand. I loved how you were talking about the issues that prevail, when kids, we all go to sleep and what happens. And so I think like you, I'm excited to just cover the diversity of topics that we share in common, the connectedness of those topics, because I think almost for some people it's like this is a sampler of what life is. And I've enjoyed getting to connect with you even without talking about what are we going to do if we collaborate in person. But then again, like, I'm holding both of these tensions because, like, we are very connected to some of the same people who, out of this desire to connect and help people, we're finding our paths cross even more and more. So I'm excited about that. And I think that there's something in between halfway where you were talking about, uh, yeah, Dean Hall. Oh, and Sean
Wow.
again. And I mean, I think there's so much that we can have with one conversation, opening up a whole world. And that was the way it was with Dean in the back of the car in Minnesota that led to me knowing him, that led to him being on. And yes, there's a way in which his overcoming of leukemia and swimming across the Willamette River, 187 miles, his friend was cold. He talks about cold plunge, but when he really gets into the discussion, he says there was that moment where he sees eagles circling in the sky, and his dad, who's the kayak guide to make sure he's swimming well, says, "Look at that," and they look, and it's awareness. There was so many moments where he had to stop and be aware of his surroundings, and because he was going into hypothermia over and over again, he had to be aware of what was too much, when to stop, when to take a break. But he also was aware that he felt the water wasn't just cold helping him on a very significant optimizing way. He got to know those waters. He calls it Mama River. And it's just a beautiful, endearing way that he talks about nature. So I think you starting off, you sent me this video of you getting sun, grounding, and I'm like, oh, this is nature. We must plug in. We must charge ourselves because as it comes, we're all beings. The
Yeah.
trees, us. So again, I'm going to pass the baton on to you. Almost like my question for you is where where is this juncture taking you? And you don't have to tell me the next stop on the journey or the end
Yeah.
stop on the journey, but like why, almost like forget about where locationally. Like, why do you keep searching? Why do you keep investigating? What drives you to continually really uncover the gold wherever you're finding it? Because it takes an appraiser of jewels to see value in jewels. So I think you're an appraiser of gold. So what is leading you, or what compels you?
Uh, I think, Neil, I was just reflecting on your questions and your comments and your words. I mean, you're so good with words. I think discovery and amazement of even with our flawed condition as human beings just by being born,
Yeah.
and but it's this path of discovery. I mean, uh, you have these moments, and I was like, along the way you were saying all these beautiful words. I was just thinking about the need of time,
Hmm.
even if we ourselves invented it, but it's the search for time. And it was, I think, Nicole and also Mike DeLuc,
Yeah.
DeLuc from Florida, this amazing orthodontist and coach and entrepreneur and yeah, mentor. But they were asking me, how did I find ways to explain to families all these things about sleep and jaw development and posture and breathing and all functions. And I just kept coming back to the need of time
Yeah.
and the need of time for connection. And
Hmm.
it's my own devils with myself that I'm just trying finding ways to get time for the present moment, right? And I think when I hit the right chord with families, when I'm with them, it's that I just feel that I don't know, like you have intention of looking into the eyes and really like listening, and so I think that's what keeps me going is discovery. It's how amazing we are. I was having a conversation. I went to Mexico City last like 2 weeks ago, and I ended up like using public transportation. You and I were talking about, and you're going up to probably Manhattan or New York City,
Yeah.
and we're talking about transportation movement and time. But I ended up using the subway in Mexico City, and that's like one of the subway stations, and I see here's me. I was trying to buy some gifts for the family, and I ended up at the main like historic district of, and it was like the National Palace, and it was a cathedral by my side, and I was so amazed. I was like, wow, it was like this
Hmm.
behemoth of of stone and history, and like yeah, long like I don't want to make a long story short, but it's like this is like the motivation of how amazing we are as humans, how many things we have created. And I was talking to my family and was like, "Oh, how beautiful Mexico City is." And I love it because I did residency there. But then everybody was commenting, "But then this place in Spain is amazing and this place in Italy is amazing and then this place in the United States is amazing." And I was like, "Wait a minute. Like the world is the world is amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like such a beautiful place."
Yeah.
and and that takes time to consider, and seeing us as and so and that seminar, that was a master from like a biologic dentist, like
Oh
the
yeah.
the dentist of the nose, Dr. Emilio Lopez. Kudos to him in Spain, and he's all over Latin America teaching, and 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 uh he's having like a seminar, like a retreat in Ecuador, where they're doing grounding and breathing. So
Oh,
you see,
that's great.
it's
All
beyond
connected.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's beyond it's all beyond a malocclusion, like
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
he was saying, and he was saying, well, you have to understand this from like you do not need to be a dentist to understand breathing, chewing,
Right.
and
Right.
that's what like I posted yesterday or 2 days ago, like chewing is energy, your muscles, your
Yeah.
mitochondria, your nerve conduction, your synapses. So we're talking about physiology. So I think you need time. Again, circling back to what you asked, like you need time to read, to discover, to go beyond like just like medical textbooks and see knowledge is wherever human beings are, there is knowledge, you know? And like with and I do, but I was talking to my son the other day. I mean, the vibration, right? You're a fan of like acoustics
Oh
and the
yeah.
vagus nerve, and I think the humming for the babies and how they connect and regulate through their mothers and speak about trauma. So sometimes, and you cannot imagine how many like I don't know days, weeks. I'm not prescribing anymore as a
Yeah.
pediatrician
Uh-huh.
because we're finding ways to collaborate and I do so many things physical. I mean, I would love to have a clone of you here in Guadalajara so I can send them
Well,
to,
we'll
to
figure
send
it
them.
out.
We'll figure it out.
No,
But
but
I
I
mean,
want to I want to even let you off the hook with some of what you want to talk about, but keep talking. Meaning, it became clear to me right at the last few texts that I sent you, we need to talk about connectivity and we need to
yes,
talk about connection. We are doing that. But I also want to let people know this is Eric and you know wonderful pediatrician that knows what you just heard: vibration,
yeah,
grounding, malocclusion, bedside manner, trauma, and of course, humming and the vagus nerve and primitive reflexes. I'll throw in and sensory issues and tongue tie. And so, Eric's knowledge about these things, Dr. Eric, is revolutionary in his field, but also quite expansive even in holistic circles. So, for anybody who's looking for one of the podcasts where we delve into all of what he knows about those things, they're out there. In fact, I think
yeah,
we covered more of that in our first interview. For
yeah.
this one, we are going to continue talking about connectivity, connection, even the way you talked about going to Mexico City and standing behind this cathedral, and it was quite behemoth. I'm like, that state of awe and appreciation, it's like, this is who you are. That's why you can stand beside a family and be in awe of the family they are to serve them more. It's not a thing you learn. It's a who you are, and I know it's who we all can be. I also want to say that you talked about time, and I love that you do, because I think people need time to understand. But I think we also can talk about how when you get passionate and excited about something, you collapse time. You all of a sudden voraciously go through content like you do, and all of a sudden you've arrived at a conclusion. And it's like maybe earlier in your life when you were trying to study something, it took you 7 months to figure something that you figured out in 2 days, 1 hour. So I think we want to talk too about like when you love something and you are like you will collapse time. And also when you're trying to accomplish something and you need to have a lot get done towards an end and helping people, you can aggregate time. So I feel like it's good to say time is nonlinear, that it is very possible to balloon it and expand it and contract it when we need to based on our consciousness. And then I'd love to even hear your thoughts on instances where you felt that happen, whether in your office or home or in life. But again, I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to
Oh,
also make sure you felt the allowance to like know that we can just go deep in that theme of connectivity.
connectivity. I connected to the teachings of Dr. Emilio. He was saying I mean, his seminar was basically 3 days showing cases of malocclusion, of adults having jaw pain, and this like neuralgia of the trigeminus, and
Hmm.
this amazing nervous system that we have. But he was saying, I'm going to explain to you things. You need to understand the mouth. As a pediatrician, I was asking him, what's a goal for me to be here? I mean, this is like orthodontists, dentists, pediatric dentists. Why am I here? The only
Yeah.
physician. He was saying, uh, what you need to learn from today, this 3 days of intensive caseload, it's to learn to see the mouth. But at the same time, he was talking to, like, he was basically talking, and this is for your audience, for families, for physicians, for our colleagues. I mean, it's all about like mastication, and Dr. Kevin Boyd, he's amazing. He loves mastication, masticatory competencies.
Yeah.
And he was
Totally.
saying, and Dr. Amelia was saying, and I connected. what Dr. Amelia was saying and what Dr. Kevin was saying, I mean, breathing and chewing, sometimes these terms could be so simple that's going to be boring. and
Yeah.
and but like even if it's simple and you're talking about muscle movement and you're talking about the connective tissue, right? And then you go to collagen and then you go to self movement and then you go to energy and then I see
Yeah.
your hands like when you're moving your hands right now a few moments ago I was saying wow how important are like our hands are these amazing tools and I think that's what the junction the juncture or the
Yeah.
crossroads is like recently Neil with patients like when they they identify me within my colleagues they identify me as a knowledgeable person in oral restrictions.
Yeah.
Like you know what I do first? Like I think I emulate you guys as specialists in manual therapy. I just go with my hands and
Yeah. Love
hold
it.
the baby's head. I just like let gravity tell me how to hold, and I just put my hands underneath the baby's cranium or head and just feel, try to feel and it's amazing and I palpate and I touch the sutures, like the unions, like the junctions of all the cranial plates. And I try to feel what does it mean, movement and these and I just at the same time I'm thinking about fluids. I'm thinking about cerebral spinal fluid. And I'm like I told you about my son. I mean, he was talking about vibration and that he didn't believe that he's 15 years old. It's understandable. He didn't believe that much about energy. And I said but you feel vibrations when you speak, right? And then every time we are like emitting and putting out a word, it's like this diaphragmatic breathing and this energy, like the flow of air through your cords and your like the modifications of your airway, right? And and that's creating sound. And sound, if you talk to a physicist, I mean, you and I, we're fans of physics. We love physics, the laws of physics, and it's replicable. I mean, it's there. If you talk to a physicist and he tell me translate mathematically what does sound mean, he's going to come up with a formula. It's going to tell you, of course, it's evident in itself, and you don't need to be a physicist to feel it. And
Mm.
and 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 that's why I believe that I don't know, look up I look up to you and to all these manual or therapy like healers because we have so much energy in our hands, right? And it's heat and it and people that are like we call them respectfully the non-believers, right? Like that you need the meds. Like yeah, but I mean like sometimes medicine is in movement, medicine is in heat, you know, medicine is in transduction of this feelings of like warmth and coldness and now I like it because it's we are seeing that we have inflammation and we know our molecules, we know where interleukins and the factors of inflammation in our molecules and our cytokines and now we see that it has an impact, right? So I think like I'm trying to understand the immunology, and that's why Shamani talks about psycho, neuro, acoustic, neuro,
Yeah,
more like
she's talking about psychoneuroimmunology. Yeah,
yes,
definitely. Yeah.
and like you can label it like that, but at the same time, to me, it's like yeah, but it has always been there, right? I mean, if you say psycho like PNIC, yes,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
but it's whole body health again, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like a I think it's a fancy word, just like maybe it gives you a framework, you know.
Yeah,
But at
and
the same
she's
time,
she's the first one to say, like, she is one of the most renowned researchers in psychoneuroimmunology. And she's the first one to say it's a fancy way to say our body knows how to heal. I
right?
think it's good to know both. Yeah, I think it's good to know both. I think it is a
Uh,
legitimate field that has been the reason so many clinicians have delved into understanding the power of the psyche and how it pertains to the immune system. Without that word in that field, a lot of clinicians, like Leland Stillman, even wouldn't have known what to do. But then we are all now saying, and isn't like grounding and biohacking, it's like, yeah, but aren't we just returning to humanity and the way we were?
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even like I mean, and it's like I think I have that conflict of I think I told you before. I mean, again, with respect and with my own flaws and biases. That's why I'm not a fan of like accompanying birthing anymore because it's so medicalized. I know it's gonna end up in a C-section, and I have not come to terms with that to be present again in that way of coming to life. I mean, because sometimes my own biases would imply that it's a C-section for the wrong reasons.
Right.
So I am not ready yet. I've stopped completely as a pediatrician in Mexico. We are present at deliveries,
Mm,
like deliveries. I'm sorry, at birthing moments.
right.
Uh, and but because it's like what's medically expected. But I have distanced myself from that birthing moment because it's again it has like this like conflict in me. It gives me hard feelings uh, because I know that we are in many ways pretending to play God
Mm,
when we are not. So sometimes I do fear that we are playing with fire, trying to be so uh omnipotent, so uh
yeah.
I forget the word. It's yeah, so full of ourselves. I don't have the proper word. It's like so certain about like, yeah, with our own technology we're gonna get far. And then you see that nature, and I was reading, I think it was Francis Bacon, the philosopher, was saying nature, you cannot fight nature, or nature something puts you in the right place and you cannot fight it.
Yeah.
And you see earthquakes all over the world, and it's
Hmm.
earth shaking and like reorganizing from from its core. Uh, so I think we need to be humble with our own mysteries and what we don't know. And I think we are playing it too way of a godly mode that it's not helping. And
Yeah.
it's and it yeah.
I would love to talk. Yeah, we'll have to do another one. Um, we'll delve in deeper on even birth because it's such a sacred moment.
Yes.
And I'm meeting today with, in birth work for me, I work out of Valley Family Collective on Tuesdays in Sherman Oaks, LA, Los Angeles, out of a lactation consultant's office. And there's midwives and doulas. So it's part of what I love is to, support families. And so, and then I'm meeting today with two prominent advocates for birth work and investors. And so I'm meeting today here in Santa Barbara with some just to talk even more about but we'll delve into that another time because I think it's like worthy of a whole episode in and of itself, meaning um, the sanctity of human life, the precious privilege those of us get to have if we are part of it, but also the complexity of it. And so I think there's so much we could delve into with that. But yeah, speaking of connections, I have to. I just kept thinking of my brother Arun while we were talking, and of course, I was checking in with him a while ago, and oh, he said these. So you know what? You know how you said there was no MC? Well,
Uh-huh.
there's a little bit of an MC situation because in one way, and my brother said this about you. Let me just pull the so for context, and I'll have probably said this in the intro as well. But my brother Arun is well, we'll talk about him next. But what he did, he was going to Mexico to with his family, and He's part of leading a retreat there, meditation and mindfulness and consciousness and a bunch of other things, prayer. And then he's known I've talked about you a lot. So he asked about you and I said, yeah, like we've known he clearly needed a release, a tongue tie release procedure.
Hmm.
So, long story short, we got to collaborate, and I got to have my brother have his tongue tie release performed by you and journey in that process. And then I got to see him uh, you know, just not too long after, a couple months after, in North
Hmm.
Carolina, when I was
Yeah.
speaking at the Myosphere event, and he was a demo patient for my presentation, and I got to do body work on him before in the demo and demonstrate to everybody some of this. I talked about you, and then I supported him as well, and supported him virtually. But like, this is what he said, just about you in the process. It's short and sweet. Um, and he said, okay, almost there, almost there. Yeah, he said, uh, happy to have me talk about his process. Definitely genuinely helped me. He said, like, he just said, Eric was so thorough, so honoring, and really not only of him, but of the guidance that I provided, but of our teamwork. And he said a lot of other great words in audio, but those words were written. So I wanted to thank you for taking care of him so well. First of all, it's my brother, my younger brother. Um, and what a beautiful thing for him to experience the untethering of his tongue. He tried so much. We've done so much. It was one of those, he clearly needed it, and it's helped him. So thank you for that first and foremost.
Oh, wow, that's great words of appreciation, and I really I am thankful for yeah, for like you have as I said at the beginning of our conversation, like you have opened so many doors and perspectives, and yeah, it's this path of discovery again. I come to this word so many times, and yeah, I mean, even like social media for the good, I tell it all the time, has put me in contact with so many amazing people. I was
Mhm.
listening. I know Dean is a great storyteller, but and he's so feels so approachable, and I mean, he has everything figured out with his with his landing page, web page, and his counseling and hypnosis and coaching. But it was so approachable the way he was like telling his story, and you how fast you became friends. And then I listen to your content, and it helps me learn a lot. And then you know what else it happens to me every time I read something. I It's so easy to me to put it into practice with a family or a patient. I mean, even if it's if it's any kind of reading, any kind of book, any kind of conversation, I always find ways to put it like for the benefit of my encounters with families, and it's and yeah, I mean, it has to be the way it has to be. Like today was meant to be this way. We're talking about like you have taught me about my movement, and I tell the word of like movement is medicine, is healing. And I tell babies and with their parents, you know what? I may not be an OT like Michelle Emmanuel. I mean, she's so knowledgeable, she's
Yeah.
so academic. But sometimes I tell you, you know what? I don't know, like I may not know a lot about primitive reflexes, like Josh Matson knows. But if you put your kiddo to move, I think we're doing a good work. I mean, it's like keep him moving, like help him feel gravity, like hold him when needed, but put him on the floor. And then as soon as he's ready to bite, having like explore with its hands, and those are the teachings or like the like advice. It's not teaching, it's advice. I tell parents because I see them like the healthy visit. So I take time to tell them this about movement, about like how the I explain like tiny bits of the fascia and the importance of the nervous system and integration and how the babies regulate through their parents. I talk about environment and emotions and how like the autonomic nervous system. So this is like my message for families overall is like we are a mystery, we are complex, so we need to feel instead of think. I tell parents, your kid is an open book. So instead of like opening and scrolling through social media looking for information, uh, look at your baby. Take again, Neil. It's about time to say you need. Yeah, I mean, I live in an urban area, and I think that's like the if you tell me what's the common denominator of our own like sickness, illness, pressure, stress, is we don't take time.
Yeah.
Uh, we're trying to go places, and uh, there's no place to go really. So I tell parents, you know what? Uh, take time to learn from your own kiddo. I mean, I fight off. I try to like words are so important, right? So when they tell me how much should or must my baby sleep, amounts he should eat, ounces, I tell them there's no like this like must be, you know. There's no must be. Like every baby's different. Learn from your baby day by day. I try to think like take time to be with your baby, have like conversation, tell your baby like Michelle Emmanuel tells like seize those moments when you change a diaper, when you take him out of a bath, explain to your baby, look for the midline. We are seeing so many compensations like our connective tissue and our nervous system and our connectivity. We are disconnected, right?
Yeah, right.
We
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah. Connective
we
tissue,
yeah.
connectivity. It's all
Yeah.
online. Yeah.
And Dean was saying again, like we plug our phones, but we do not
Yeah.
plug ourselves to recharge.
Yep.
So, and sometimes connecting with your child, I see so many parents like give like they feed their infants with a bottle, and it's fine. We're not criticizing. I
Right.
mean, if it's like any kind of reason, that's not the point. The point is try to make eye contact, like if you're giving your baby a bottle, try to like to see it's not about just feeding, like filling an empty stomach as if it was like a tank, right?
Yeah.
That you need to fill up. So like eye contact. I mean, like babies are so oral centric, right? I mean, and I see nowadays, I think so many things that you may see as a chiropractor would be connected to like oral functions, right? I mean,
Hmm.
uh, Melissa Magno was interviewing an amazing dentist in I think the Washington area, and he has the book of Why Babies Suck, and it's
Hmm.
like the pun intended because I mean why they suck at what they do is we are understanding that it's not about only a tie, it's about oral function overall. That's why your flow of the mouth protocol makes so much sense, right? Because you see this amazing part of our body with it, which is the jaw and the connection it has with the floor of the mouth. And we need to like focus on oral function because I tell parents, I don't know if I told you this the first time we met. I am amazed of like if we understand, take time to understand that first is the breath, like Dr. Zagi says, breathing is the beginning, nasal breathing, but then in order for you to survive and to put your instincts and your reflexes into practice, yeah, then it comes oral functions, right? And it's the sock swallow breathe, and you need to focus on sock swallow breathe because this could be like
Yeah.
a like a pivoting moment
Yeah.
for a baby to go to dysfunction,
Yes.
tension, deregulation, and it's all from these oral functions, right? So I've been focusing a lot, like if we go to the like the rigidity of studying and understanding, it's like focusing intent with intention to oral functions because that's like we are very oral centric. Our neurodevelopment is centered in our oral functions, and then everything comes like a domino effect, you know, uh, to the rest of the body, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. No, it's good. You tied together a lot of seemingly disparate ideas, but it unifies. I mean, the mouth is a great one because the pharyngeal arches, the mouth,
Hmm.
forms at 4 or 5 weeks gestation, which is right at the beginning of the journey. And all the way from talking about the way, yeah, like you said, it's breathing is so penultimate. And I would also say Shariona Menzim Sills, who I've had on the podcast a couple times, who's written the
Hmm.
book Spirit into Form, and she's one of the legends in terms of craniosacral therapy, but also pre and perinatal psychology, which I've done some training in. And it's interesting because we think about when we think this, back to Kevin Boyd as well, and some of our conversations. And we've definitely talked a lot about embryology because of some of the studies he's doing. But you know, it's interesting how through the umbilical cord, feeding is the first way we receive oxygen, right? So it's interesting how I think a lot of us are talking about the importance of breathing and then feeding and oral motor. And yet, I think when we go back to the core, feeding or nourishment is the beginning. And through this umbilicus connecting the mother to the baby, the gestating being, it's like it begins with feeding. So actually this is why I used to carry the title of integrative airway and feeding chiropractor. Now I'm calling myself an interdisciplinary manual therapist because chiropractic, I love it, but it's very little of what I do, only because I've seen what is this mouth to body connection and how can I find ways to help it. And that's why I've created my floor four and my FMDI. But this is not about me or that. Homage to the mom delivers the baby, and that umbilical cord that delivers the oxygen. Oxygen
Hmm.
comes through the cord. So it's interesting how that is where we start. And then later we breathe through our
Yeah.
nostrils, and then later we feed through our mouth. So this is why the first year of my podcast is interviewing experts in embryology, because I think we're slowly returning back to one of the deepest aspects to the repository of healing, which is to honor the bond between the dyad, mom and baby. But you do that so well in your practice and in your words too. So we have a couple more minutes here before I've got a little space here, but before I have my next engagement. But I've already loved what you've shared as like powerful messages to help people lay a hold of and grip. But if you want to kind of have us um, come out with a phrase that you think would be helpful, whether it's like a motto of Eric's, or even like a statement of that summarizes like what has been something you said. Time, I love it. I'll say one more minute. I love the paradox of time. Like when I was in Indiana guiding these healers, and we found if we did the right thing at the right time, we could get a hypersensitive gag reflex to go away instantly. Time didn't matter. It was the right thing we did that removed something that most people think takes time with remediation and all these things. Then we have the paradox of I had 3 hours yesterday where somebody came in. They were in from the Hamptons and they came to LA and they knew I was there. And I did a 3 hour session with this man with ALS and heart disease. But all of a sudden, in a moment, I saw there was this moment in his earlier that led to fear, that led to landing in his parathyroid. And when I connected the dots, his parathyroid released, the floor of his mouth released, and his head could come back out of its disposition that was going on acutely. You know what? Time was necessary to have this exploration, but instantly transcending time, a solution was delivered to his body that you could have worked for 70 hours if in the wrong areas, and it wouldn't have worked because it wasn't in his emotions. So I think time is an amazing topic. We almost have so little time now left to have you talk, but yeah, Eric, I've enjoyed our time together. I can't wait for our next conversation in the WhatsApp thread and wherever else, but then also for the podcast. But let us let us know, one, how can people like find out more about you? They already do know, but it'll be all in the show notes and everything like that. And anything you want to leave us out with in this next minute.
Yeah, I mean, the next minute will be like speaking about time. I would say would love to keep finding time for this integration. I mean, I like the connection between, I don't know, relativity and quantum physics. I think in health, my mission or my focus has been how to connect these or integrate what I've learned from other fields of health that are not conventional medicine, and finding the time to discover how to connect, how this this theory of everything health related in my own field as a pediatrician. I think I can contribute a lot to what adults can become, how like helping kids really thrive, even if it's like a very like a overused word. But I think with time and dedication to families one by one, and keep having this intention for discovery, I think with time I'll find that's my legend all the way constantly. And I thank you for the time again, and enjoy your next endeavor, your next appointments, and yeah, I mean, you and I are connected forever. We have these conversation ongoing on WhatsApp and everywhere with our people that you connect me with, and I thank you again with much appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gratitude in my heart for you also, and not only what you're doing for the world, but also our friendship. So I'm really thankful for that, and I can't wait to um, continue that friendship. And then, yeah, one day maybe we'll make all of our WhatsApp threads public. I'm just kidding. And we'll keep flowing, and we'll keep exploring and consciously understanding that the more we know there is so much more to explore. And I'm excited to be a co-voyager in life and consciousness with you, Eric.
Thank you, Neil, and until next time, and thank you to the audience for listening and tuning in. Bye bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Compromise to Alchemize podcast. Really excited to thank Jessica from Lunalux for the music, this track called Major. I want to thank Toshi, who originally did the design work for my cover art. And then I also want to thank Alyssa from my team for podcast publishing, my whole team, including Kat, for heading up my world. And then also definitely want you all to follow me on YouTube, follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcast. Comment, give us a rating, and also follow me on Instagram at Dr. Neil Bulchandani so you can stay tuned to my latest. Thanks so much, and you have an amazing day.
This is major.